he looked at me and says, "You want to go and play American Samoa and Fiji? We've got Manchester United at Old Trafford, Arsenal at Highbury. Are you flipping mad?" I'm going, good point.
This is the official Leeds United podcast.
Please tell us that the atmosphere was as incredible as it looked at Elland Road.
It was unbelievable. I think it was just great to finally be back and meet some familiar faces. But of course, all that pent up frustration came out. And my goodness, before the game, I actually had my cans on, my headphones on for LUTV, and one side of it actually didn't work. The other side did, but it was so low, I couldn't hear. And the blinking singing that then started, I thought, I'm in trouble here. I can't hear what Brynner's saying. I have no idea. But you know what? Who cares? It didn't matter. It was amazing. It really was. And just to finally see that feedback from the fans to the players, I think was really important for them as well.
I've heard quite a few people say that it was quite emotional, actually, after being away for so long, and being robbed of so many fantastic moments over the last sort of 18 months, that this even though it's the first game and of many more, it was quite emotional.
It was, obviously for lots of reasons as well, because the football club is the kind of the heartbeat of Leeds, the city, and I think those familiar faces, it's really important to feel that community spirit. And we've had obviously a rough time for a year and a half. I've been lucky going to the games home and away, but it doesn't mean anything without the crowd being there. And I must admit, I think I hugged more people as well that first game. Are we allowed to hug? I'm not sure if we're allowed to hug. Yeah, come on, give us a big hug and a kiss, and away we go. So, it was for lots of people a pretty special day.
Do you, obviously the on our side, when you're at home, but do you still feel, particularly on your debut or when you're first experiencing a packed out Elland Road, is there a degree of pressure that comes with that? Because although you know that they've got your back, it's 40,000 people, with bated breath. Is there a little degree of nerves that come with that?
There should be, absolutely, and there is. But I think there's more pressure for those high-achieving players to put on themselves. Their standards are there to be met. You're right. That many players, that many fans, screaming at you, either positively or negatively, is not so easy to block out. But at the same time, you use it as fuel, to really get going. But listen, all I heard was, just positives all the way through that game. And I think that's why it's going to be important this season. At home, we need it to be a fortress, don't we? And I think when we do go behind, that's where the crowd can really make their voices heard.
And they
players like Rafinha,
that.
they'll feed on that, don't they?
Oh, he absolutely loves it, and the more that you cheer him, the more he wants to just take the mickey out the fullback. And sometimes I have to say, Digne didn't know whether he was coming or going. I thought at one point Benitez had to go on the pitch and unscrew him out of the pitch because he was turning like left and right. Where's he gone? But yeah, Rafinha was magnificent.
How would you have fancied being up against him?
I'm delighted I'm in the stand watching, I have to say. Well, first thing, in my day, you could actually give him a kick and I'd be kicking him straight away. And I'd tell him what I would say to him is, you know what, I'm going to kick you again and again and again. Go the other side, otherwise I'm going to keep chasing you and kicking you. I remember doing that to Ryan Giggs. I booted him right early. He went on the left-hand side and Mel Sterling said to me, you bugger. He would not go back the other side again.
You mentioned that there were some games last year that, God, I just wish fans had been there. Is there anyone in particular? And I'm kind of thinking of sort of your yelp.
Oh, I wonder which game that was.
Man City game. I'm sort of thinking along those lines. but was there any games that you were just sort of commenting on and you were, privileged to be there, but you think, gosh, I really wish this game.
I don't know where to start because there's so many of those. There really was so many, but I'll pick out. I can think of three straight off. Right, first one is Liverpool, the first game. You're back. You're against the champions. You're in their backyard, and we're taking the game to them. Their front three kind of were tearing us apart a bit. We thought, forget that, we'll tear you apart instead, and we kept going back and forward. Back. I'm thinking the crowd would absolutely, love that game. That was absolutely one of them. Another one would have been Villa away. Just Villa are absolutely flying, and then Bamford scores an incredible hat trick. From kind of nowhere, and they were the team that were really flying at that point as well. So many. Everton away actually was another really good one. I think it was Rafinha again that Did he score there? Yeah, so I think so. So yeah, lots of games where you think, God, I just can't believe what I'm watching, and to see it, live, we know it's different, and there was no one seeing it live. So yeah, those three for sure.
And Tony, before, as Matt said, because we want to talk about your time at Leeds United, there was a real sort of fitting tribute to the legends of the club, so many that we have lost, wasn't there? And it was really important, I think, that fans were given the opportunity to pay
and that
their
has
respects
been
to them.
The great sadness, I think, in this last year and a half. We have lost some greats, like absolute greats, and just understanding the numbers of these amounts of appearances these guys have put in for Leeds United. It's been their life, simple as that. It is Leeds United. So Jack Charlton, Trevor Cherry, Peter Lorimer, Norman Hunter, it goes on and on. Terry Cooper. It's just, really, really sad. And each of those individually, is worth so much of our Leeds United family love to give to them. Yet we couldn't do that. So it was lovely that, that happened during that game. A lot of their families as well were in the Norman Hunter suite. And so that was really nice to see them there, and hopefully they really enjoyed the tribute. But we lost some great people. We were hit hard, weren't we? Really, really hard.
Listening on together.
How do you think the team that you played in would have adjusted to a Marcelo Bielsa coming in and forcing you all to play murder ball and running non-stop? How would that team have? Not, I don't even mean phically. I mean.
Well, where do I start?
I guess what I'm asking is, would
they have fought with it?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, for one person in particular, Mel Sterling would have been fined every single Monday for being overweight. That's the first thing I've got to say. So he wouldn't have played. You know what? It would have been an interesting one. But when I came into the group at Leeds United, it was such a strong group. Standards were extremely high, and that was led by Gordon Strachan. But everyone then, like the Pied Piper he was, had to follow. And training was that intense. It was of a high quality all the time. We had two great youngsters in Speedo and Bats coming through as well, who wanted to listen and learn. And, then Gary Mackey. We had all this blend. And I think, whatever Howard Wilkinson said, we would do, and Strachan would be the leader of that, on the pitch. So there's no doubt, if he said, like Bielsa, right, we're doing murder ball, we're doing this, that, and the other, we would have done it. There's absolutely no doubt. However, talking to the lads now, the current lads, about their training, I'm thinking, you know what, I'm really comfy up in that gantry there, watching this lovely game of football, because it's hard work. It's really intense. But to be honest, I was on the more fit side, so I would have been absolutely fine.
You gave enough that you were also picked to play for England. And I mean, anyone listening will know you've got a native Leeds accent. How did that happen? What's the association there?
Jeez. Well, it was strange, because I would have played actually for Australia. Australia asked me to play for them when I was 18, so I got into the Aston Villa first team at 18. Australia rang me up and asked me to play for them in their World Cup qualifiers. Now, back then, the international calendars were not aligned, so I couldn't fly away for 2 games and then fly back, because then, I would have been playing. So the Australian Federation told me I was going to play Fiji, New Zealand, and American Samoa. Now, I didn't even know American Samoa had a football team. I didn't even know where it was. Somewhere near Samoa, but Americans. Anyway, whatever it was, I'm thinking, okay, this is brilliant. I'm going to play for Australia. I go in and ask the manager, and I just got into the Aston Villa first team at that point. And he looked at me and says, "You want to go and play American Samoa and Fiji? We've got Manchester United at Old Trafford, Arsenal at Highbury. Are you flipping mad?" I'm going, good point. Okay, I won't. No, you're okay, boss. And that was it. So I couldn't do it. I then got contacted by England a couple of years later, and they said, "Listen, you've been here 3 years now. If you just wait another couple of years, you can apply for British citizenship, and we'd like you to play for England. So can you please hang on and do that?" So I thought that was the right way to go, and I'm delighted I did.
532 days, 76 weeks, 45,964,800 seconds since this.
Ball breaks for Ealing. Oh, what a finish!
And even longer since we cheered them together at the top.
It's Viduka.
16 long years and we've had our ups and downs.
Heartbreak at Elland Road.
But it'll be right. At least, I think that's what Marcelo said. 5 wins on bounce, not a single goal conceded, top of the league and unstoppable. Or so we thought. It always has been us against the world. And it's never been our DNA to conquer things the easy way. We did it the Leeds way. And boy, did we do it.
And it comes for Pablo Hernandez. Oh!
The new normal became the normal. New rituals, new icons, a new era. Cubs became Lions, Kings became Gnomes, new fans joined us as loved ones left. We've been through it all together, and it's no longer hope, but belief. We'll rise to our feet like the hairs on our necks, and our lungs will be emptied and our hearts will be filled. This is Leeds. Welcome home.
The poem was written by poet and massive Leeds United fan, Matt Abba, who's performed alongside the likes of Paul Weller and The Fall. It quite literally gave me goosebumps. Honest to God, it was incredible. So, Matt, it is a pleasure to have you join us on the official Leeds United podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us on. I'm really excited about it. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for joining us, man.
Your words are amazing. When did you realise, Matt, that you had a talent for them?
I started writing poetry when I was about 17, which I know is a very strange age to get into it, but it was when like Arctic Monkeys and Kaiser Chiefs and Pigeons were all coming out, and a lot of the indie scene that was blowing up everywhere was in Yorkshire, and I really wanted to be in a band, but I couldn't sing or play guitar, so I just started writing lyrics and then doing them without music, which accidentally became poetry, which I know is a bit weird, but it's quite a nice job.
So, hang on, is this like your full-time job?
Yeah, I know. It's not the career's advice that ever told me to be a poet, but
sorry, Matt. Other Matt, I interrupted.
No, I love how you got into it, because when you're learning poetry at school, it always feels like this kind of archaic Victorian pastime that doesn't exist anymore. And yet it just got, I suppose, replaced by music. There's even an Alex Turner lyric in it where he says, I pour my aching heart into a pop song because I couldn't get the hang of poetry.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what they do is poetry. So it's the same thing, but because I'm not musically gifted either, I'd probably end up having to do the poetry as well. So when you say it's your professional full-time job, what does that entail then?
I do a lot of stuff in schools. I do a lot of gigs, selling books. Sometimes I write commissions for organisations and that as well. All kinds of things, really. But I first wrote a poem for Leeds United a couple of years ago. It was the centenary kit launch. Right. Ralph Ineson voiced it, and it was this big centenary poem. And that's like the highlight of my career, without a doubt. So working with Leeds is a dream come true. Definitely.
Because you're a massive Leeds United fan, aren't you, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So when you're asked, for example, to write about Leeds United, I imagine it comes very naturally to you because there is so much passion behind it.
Absolutely. I like to think that I'm able to get the passion across and get what it means for the fans across. The only problem for me is watching my language, because, there's a way you talk. And then if a club are putting it out on their socials, you've got to be a bit even just like slang or nicknames or whatever. But yeah, it's I never usually write about football or Leeds United. I write about loads of other stuff. So when I get the opportunity to do it, it means a lot to me. And I think fans can tell. Like if a club were going to say, we're going to get a poet, most fans would be like, what? Yeah. But because I'm an actual, proper Leeds fan first, I hope it comes across.
It really does. And you touched on something there as well when you talked about slang and stuff. Do you want your poetry to be of Wakefield, of Leeds, of the area? Do you try and keep it as close to home as possible? I think the most important thing when you're writing is just to write as yourself. Like you say, with a lot of the poetry you read at school, it comes across like really old fashioned and it's like ye olde language.
And I think sometimes when people try and write poetry, they try and write like that because that's what they think it should sound like. I just want to sound like me.
Right.
And I am from Wakefield. So yeah, like whilst I hope it's like universal, some of the things I talk about, you should always talk as yourself. I think it's really important to do that.
This is the official Leeds United podcast.